tinting back color. This also works for unifying color. I got some paintings here I always kind of go back on as far as showing students, you know, things about like what the old masters used to do. And we'll look at this picture for instance. You'll see a lot of monochromic value in here where, you know, you have your color and it's being ranked from this yellow to a very dark yellow, but they threw the green into the trees. But you notice the green in the trees. The green in the trees, I'm going to click the bigger version here so it kind of loads. The green in the trees have a lot of the yellow in them. So I have this yellow and then it goes into the yellow. And what they did here, they washed the color into the leaves. So they painted those leaves with a green, and then after the fact they said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some oil and I'm going to take this color and I'm going to mix a little bit of color in the oil, and that's it. And then I'm going to paint the entire scene with that color. So in this case, they took the yellow from the scene, they mixed it with a little bit of oil and not much paint at all, and they washed over the top of the entire thing, and that's washing color. And there's other terms for it, but I just call it washing color. And you'll see a lot of the old masters used to do this. Here's another one. So there's a lot of value here of this brown, but many times that they probably took the background color and washed over the top and then started going again with the color. Especially with dresses, skies. Now, here for instance, they weren't worried about that. You know, I mean, you notice that the color on the woman is very bright white. But what they did here is they matched the value of the black or the background with, you know, certain tones within the dress. Okay, like this tone right here, you know, really does match this tone here. So they used a lot of the dress properties to formulate the background, but the white was meant to stand out. So when we wash back color, let me kind of do this on something that is a little bit easier to do it on. Let's say something that didn't have that kind of principle. So let's talk about when we take a picture of something, we take a picture and it's based upon the light in the room. I really do like picking on this one a lot. So you see none of the actual color from the background of the wall. You know, if you set up a museum, you're very conscious about, if I set this piece in a green room, is it going to look good? No, I would set this in a brown room. So when you're setting up a museum, it's more like painting than you know, because you have to worry about where you place your pieces, how much light is on the piece, you know, does it look good there? But if I was to treat this as a painting, however, and I wanted to wash back color, I want to show you that in Photoshop. And boy, this is just taking forever. I think what I'll do is I'll take the low res version and do this. Copy image. And if I copy that image, I go new and OK, and then edit, paste it. So when I go like this, let's say I want to tint back this color so there's not so much white highlights. There's like some white highlights here and here. Not many though, because I probably did this already. So in here, I could grab these browns. And then I can go make a new layer and throw that same brown over the top of everything. And then I can tint everything back by just lowering the opacity a little bit. Okay, and what that does, it takes away the white highlights and then adds more of the rich color into it. Now keep in mind, I can do this very same trick using two colors too, with washing color. Let's say I grab this color and this color, okay? And I make a new layer, and this time I'm going to use the gradient tool. and I'm going to use the gradient tool with this feature on. And what this does is allows me to go like that. Okay, now I can lower the opacity down. And you'll see that it washes it out just a little bit. Here's with it off, here's with it on. Okay, so I can unify some of the colors in there. Other things you should be wary of is there's a great deal of things that we have not talked about yet, but I would love to talk about here soon, and those are the layer properties. So if I go to multiply, here's with it off, here's with it on. So it kind of unifies the color too. I could talk days about these things, and I will shortly, but not yet. Just know that they're here and you should play around with them a little bit, get used to them, because we're going to be covering them quite extensively. Especially with glows. Okay. So that's another way to unify color. The last version to unify color is this, is if you go in here and say photo filter. This is a very cheap way to do it. You go to color, you can choose the color. And if I grab this color right here, for instance, notice it has a hard time grabbing this color and throwing it over here. However, it wants to use white. The one thing I don't like about photo filter is the fact that it's really hard to get your color over here. So you almost have to tend to mix it manually or remember the color number. So if I go in here and say, well, I want to look at this color number, maybe that'll help. Let's see this. No. So what I have to do is remember the color number, and I do that by going in here, taking and going back to the background, grabbing this color, taking this color, copying it, and then in my photo filter, and if I click on this one and go to color, and I can paste that color here. Okay, and it looks like it's allowing me to grab because what I did is I grabbed accidentally onto this instead of this. So make sure you grab onto the first icon, not the second. There we go. So now that that's in there, I can rank up the density, and you can see that it's starting to photo filter over the top of this. And it's starting to unify the colors a different way. Okay. A lot of times if you do this, you get this really cool effect where it almost makes the whole image unified so much that you get this very washed out look. And this washed out look is kind of cool too in its own respect. Okay. So those are the ways I know to wash back color, and that's how you do it within Photoshop.